to the reading of It's a Kid's Life at Christmas Countdown. It's just me tonight. Danny and Joe will join us for a few more readings later in the week. But for now, I'm going to kick us off tonight by reading you chapter 5. Pah! So much for the fake elf story winning me the competition. 4 days later, and my headline would now have to read something like this. Not so fake elf meets a sticky end as kids win against Mum. Everything was going great for the first day. Elvis had been sitting nice and still on the windowsill in the lounge, minding his own business. Big Spud and Little Spud had been going over and poking him in the tummy every now and then to test whether he was real. Then, when they got no response, they would go back and report to Mum that he wasn't saying ouch when they poked him, so he must be a doll. Mum would then tell them not to be so mean to him and that he was under strict orders from Father Christmas to pretend to be a doll when the children were around. Only when they were fast asleep at night was he allowed to come alive. Pocket Rocket and I had laughed at the time, thinking how gullible our little brothers were to believe this. That all changed the first morning after Elvis came to stay, though. I was awoken to shrieks from Big Spud and Little Spud in the bathroom. I shouted out to them to be quiet, which made them squeal even more. They were saying something about Elvis and toothpaste. I reached out to tickle Obi behind his ears as I dragged my sleepy head out of bed. In the bathroom, I spotted Elvis the Elf sitting on the edge of the sink holding our tube of toothpaste. The mirror above him had the word boo smeared on it in toothpaste. Look, Ben, squealed Little Spud happily. He's a naughty elf like me. That means I can be naughty too, and he won't tell Father Christmas. Mum suddenly appeared in the bathroom. Oh, no, it doesn't, mister, she said quickly. Just because Elvis is naughty, that doesn't mean you can be naughty together. He will still tell Father Christmas about you. Little Spud crossed his arms and huffed. Well, then I'll tell Father Christmas about him too, he said indignantly. But Elvis isn't the one who needs to be good to get presents from Father Christmas, said Mum logically. He just helps make the presents, remember? Little Spud looked defeated. Okay, he said moodily. It's not fair though. He glared at the elf sitting motionless on the sink and stormed out of the bathroom. I looked suspiciously at the elf and then at Mum. She muttered what a naughty elf he was, making more work for her as she began to wipe the mirror to get rid of the toothpaste. I was convinced that he was a fake elf. But if that was true, then who put him in the bathroom and wrote boo on the mirror? At this stage, I was still thinking it would make a good article for the newspaper. But first, I had to find out a bit more about how this whole fake elf spy thing worked. I knew it wasn't Mum making it up, as she always moaned about cleaning up after us around the house. That meant there was no way in the world she would put toothpaste on the mirror just to have to clean it off again. That would be ridiculous. There was only one explanation. It had to be Dad. That theory, however, was completely destroyed the following morning when we woke up to Elvis's latest antics. Mum told us to creep quietly into her bedroom where Dad was still asleep. Elvis was sitting on the end of the bed with Mum's bright pink nail varnish resting on his lap. One arm was hugging tightly onto it, whilst the other was resting on the lid. We all looked down at Dad's feet, poking out the end of the duvet, and saw that his toenails were bright pink. Elvis had only gone and painted Dad's toenails whilst he was sleeping. My brothers squealed with delight when they saw what the naughty elf had done. Quickly, Mum ushered them out of the room before they could wake Dad up. The damage was done though. We all ran down the stairs to the sound of Dad shouting, "What on earth has happened to my toes?" It would have been funny if it hadn't been for the fact that I knew that Dad wouldn't have painted his own toenails bright pink. Therefore, it couldn't have been him behind the fake elf. There could only be one explanation. The elf had to be real. I didn't like this one bit. The next night, Elvis took all of the marshmallows out of the cupboard and made an igloo out of them to sleep in. This really bugged me, as it wasted a whole lot of marshmallows that could have gone into my hot chocolate. The final straw came a day later though, when I woke up to find Lola with a big bald stripe down her back. Elvis was sitting on the kitchen table with the dog clippers in his arms, guilty. I grabbed hold of Elvis, quickly checked no one was looking and ran out of the front door with him. This freaky dude was getting out of my house the fastest way possible. I ran 5 doors down to where a little girl called Alice lived and left the elf on her doorstep. I rang the doorbell and then ran back to my house as fast as I could. It was time for this mischievous elf to spy on someone else for Father Christmas. I would just tell my brothers that Elvis had received a phone call from Father Christmas to tell him he was needed back at the North Pole. Straight away to start wrapping presents for Christmas Eve. Elvis has left the building. So it was a real elf after all. Okay, let's see what happens in chapter 6. So this year we will be doing a Christmas show with a difference, Mr. Growler finally concluded after what had felt like an hour of him rambling on about the true meaning of Christmas. I was sitting in the school hall listening to the usual boring Friday morning assembly from my headmaster, Mr. Growler. My bottom felt numb where it was probably getting frostbite from sitting on the cold hard floor for so long. I shifted uncomfortably as I tried not to nudge my classmate Olivia, who was sitting next to me. My teacher this year, Miss Jackson, insisted on sitting as boy, girl, boy, girl. It was so annoying when teachers did controlling things like that. It could be worse though. At least I was sitting between Olivia and another girl called Lexi. Poor Tommy had got stuck between evil Emily and nosy Natalie. How unlucky could you get? My ears pricked up at the sound of a Christmas show with a difference. Usually each year group did their own Christmas play, based around the story of baby Jesus. There were only so many times you could dress up as a wise man and get enthusiastic about it. I don't think I could have faced doing it again this year. This year, continued Mr. Growler, the entire school will do one show together. An excited murmur erupted amongst the children all around me. This was quickly hushed by the teachers sitting around the edge of the school hall like marshals, making sure no one stepped out of line. Of course, we will still have the traditional Christmas story of baby Jesus in there, Mr. Growler went on, but we will also have some modern Christmas songs, some street dancing, as you kids call it, and the teachers will be getting involved too. A few kids cheered at this point, as they undoubtedly pictured their teachers completely humiliating themselves as they tried to sing and dance. Once again, the marshals hushed the troublemakers. You'll be practicing in your year groups over the next few weeks, said Mr. Growler. Then we will all come together for a few big rehearsals before showing your parents the best Christmas show Summercroft School has ever done. Almost the entire room cheered at this point. After a failed attempt to shush everyone for a third time, the teachers gave up and allowed everyone to exit the hall cheering and chattering, which was unusual for a school assembly. I caught up with Tommy as he walked back to our classroom slightly ahead of me. Have you come up with any more ideas for the newspaper report? He asked. Nope, I answered, raising my eyebrows. I was really struggling to think of something. How about you write about the switching on of the Christmas lights tonight, Tommy suggested. They're bound to have someone famous turning them on. Tommy was right. The town centre always made a big deal about switching on the Christmas lights. That could be my winning story. Okay, I hope you enjoyed those 2 chapters. Join me tomorrow night and we'll find out if Ben is right about the turning on of the Christmas lights being a great story for him to write for the newspaper competition. And something tells me things might not go to plan. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Bye!